Affairs for today's joint press Stakeout. Our guest today is Her Excellency Ylva Johansson, European Union Commissioner for Migration and Home Affairs. She arrived in Pakistan yesterday for a two-day visit and has been meeting senior government officials and political leaders. This afternoon, she held a meeting with the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Her Excellency Hina Rabbani Khar. We'll begin today's session with the opening remarks first by Her Excellency Hina Rabbani Khar, the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, followed by remarks by Her Excellency, the European Union Commissioner for Migration and Home Affairs. This will be followed by a Q&A session. So, Madam.
Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a good afternoon to everyone. Even before I welcome you, Commissioner Johansson, let me just say that it is my pleasure and privilege and a unique coincidence that as the first all-women diplomatic team which takes over the spokesperson's office and the spokeswoman's office actually conducts the first press takeout, the two people taking the podium are both women. So this is truly, I think, taking over the world by women diplomats today. So let me just, put that on the record. Now, I think it is not unknown to anyone as to what a strong partnership the European Union and Pakistan have had over the last many, many years. I'm particularly pleased to see, if I were to look at the last levels of engagement or the engagement that we've had only in the last few months, very recently I met 4 members of parliament from the European Union Parliament. Our Minister of Commerce has continued to engage with them. We had engagement just with the Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, with the High Representative on the sidelines of Baniast just a week back. Before that, we had engagement with the President of the European Union and the Prime Minister of Pakistan on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly. So clearly, this constant, continued, sustained level of engagement shows how we have interests which are deeply entangled with each other's. We have concerns which might also be entangled with each other's. But more importantly, Commissioner, your particular area of expertise tells us also on how we engage to take care of the concerns, at the same time build new avenues for cooperation. And I look at it very simply. Pakistan is a country where migration is an important issue. As you all know, Pakistan is a country of origin, transit, and destination of migration. We are currently hosting around 3 million Afghan refugees on our territory. I don't know there are many other countries in the world which can talk about being a house and have provided home and infrastructure, whether it's house, schools, education, etc., to that many number of refugees. At the same time, Pakistan is also cognizant of the European Union's concerns over any illegal migrants coming in from this area to its member countries. As you know, we have taken legislative, policy, and administrative measures to be able to make sure that irregular migration from Pakistan is minimized and eventually completely stopped. Now, I also know that in the Pakistan-European Union Strategic Engagement Plan, which was signed in 2019, both sides had agreed to work towards a broader, a mutually beneficial, and a comprehensive dialogue on migration and mobility with clear targets and joint commitments. Now, I know that we haven't made much headway on that in the past, and therefore I'm very pleased to welcome you to Pakistan today as you come with a commitment from the European Union to launch a dialogue on migration and mobility in the first half of next year. And this, strategically speaking, is how I see this relationship going forward. We minimize the possibility of illegal migration, at the same time open doors wide for legal migration of both the talent pool that exists in Pakistan. Pakistan clearly is a country which has exportable surplus when it comes to human resource. And we believe that we have every possibility to be able to engage together to ensure that the infrastructure is provided both in terms of language courses, skill training, and the very sophisticated pool of skilled labor that already exists within the IT sector and others to find a win-win situation. As I've said before, we understand that the European Union is currently faced with a shortage of manpower in information technology, in startups, and other important areas. Now, Pakistan, as we all know, possesses a large pool of readily available skilled areas in many fields. And around 65% of our population is below the age of 35. There are many schools and universities which produce very talented people in IT, healthcare, software engineering, and other areas. We have also now established a mechanism to recruit and export manpower in many fields. So Pakistan is therefore well placed today to provide the European Union with the required manpower. I hope that the dialogue on migration and mobility will be fruitful and add another important dimension to what has truly been a beneficial Pakistan-European Union relations. And at the end, I think I would be amiss if I were not to at least mention one other area which has served the countries well, the European Union and Pakistan well, which is the area of GSP+. This, as we all know, has been a win-win. We have seen an escalation of exports from both countries more than 60%. So whether the numbers are 68% and 86% or vice versa, I think this has been a win-win, and therefore we are looking towards that, the ongoing dialogue on that, and the continuation of that to offer win-win possibilities to the two. Over to you.
Thank you very much, and I would like to start by thanking you, Minister Rabbani Khar, for the excellent discussions today. And can I also say to reply to your start that in my experience, many years as minister and also as a commissioner, lessons learned, it never underestimate a female politician's strength, commitment and brilliance. And thank you very much, Hina. I think really we had a very warm and good talk today, and I think that we can do a lot of things together. I would like to thank the Pakistani government and all the authorities also for the very warm welcome that I have received here and for the very interesting visit that I did yesterday. What we are building on is 60 years of relations between the EU and Pakistan. And we have, Pakistan is a very important and strategic partner for the European Union. And we have seen this good cooperation in many areas. You mentioned the trade, and I think this is an area we've seen a lot of a good outcome that we could do even more. And coming to my portfolio, in Peshawar, I saw the efforts that authorities are making for good and sound border management, and the sophisticated counter-terrorism strategies that are being designed and implemented. And these efforts are unfortunately necessary, and I think they are well advanced. They illustrate the responsible approach of Pakistan as an influential actor and leading presence in the region. A stable security situation is in the interest of all, including beyond the region. So that's why this area of security is and also an area where I would like to see a deeper cooperation between us two. When it comes to migration, the EU and Pakistan have a strong foundation of cooperation to stand on. And you mentioned the Afghan refugees. I think it's impressive, the generosity. And I would like again to thank you for how you have dealt with this very, very difficult situation with the Afghan refugees. And of course, there's a big of many differences, but also now in the European Union, we are experiencing 4.5 million Ukrainian refugees that are being hosted in homes. So these are challenges that we have to deal with. At the same time, also have the possibility and the strength to look into other areas of migration where we also need to cooperate. And you already mentioned many of those. I'm very happy that we together today can launch this dialogue, the comprehensive dialogue on migration and mobility. And it's about building on of course, the experience that we already have, the already good cooperation that we have on the EU readmission agreement and on legal pathways. But we can do so much more. The EU is an aging society. And we are lacking skilled workers in many areas and on many different levels. And I know that you are very well prepared to be a strong partner to us when it comes to legal migration. So I'm happy to explore that and intensify our cooperation on the legal migration. At the same time, it's important that we also make the distinguish between those that are eligible to stay and those that are not. And that's why we also need to work on counter-smuggling and irregular arrivals and step up on return and readmission. And I think this is two legs that we can do together. So I think really we have a good base to stand on, and we have the common energy and skills to really step up and deepen and broaden our cooperation. So thank you very much for the very good discussions today, and I'm really looking forward to continue on this dialogue and to be even more concrete in the different steps.
Thank you, Madam Minister and Madam Commissioner. The two sides have agreed in advance to take 4 questions from the floor, and we will now open the floor for Q&A session. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Parliament Times. Ms. Commissioner, illegal immigration is one of the biggest challenge for European Union. EU compensate certain countries, incentivize certain countries like Turkey and Morocco to stop illegal immigration. But this region of world and African region, these are the major source of illegal immigrants into Europe. Will there be any mechanism in future to incentivize Pakistan or other countries like Afghanistan to have better border management in order to stop inflow of illegal immigrants?
Yes, we are already cooperating in this area, and we are ready to step up in all these areas. That's why we are launching this dialogue on migration and mobility. So we see the needs, and we are also ready with funding when it comes to support the legal migration. Could be in the format of the talent partnership. So this is what we would like to explore further. But we are also ready to support when it comes to the importance of fighting the smugglers and to reintegrate the returnees that have to go back when they're not eligible to stay. So in all these areas, we are also ready to step up our financial contribution and other ways to cooperate with Pakistan.
Anas.
Thank you so much, spokesperson. 2 questions, one each basically, one for the visiting dignitary and one for Madam Minister. Firstly, ma'am, we've seen that Pakistan has hosted, as Madam Minister also mentioned, the most number of Afghan refugees. But over the time, we've seen that there's this negativity coming in from across the border, particularly when it comes to Pakistan, irrespective of the generosity that Pakistan has offered. So would there be any advice from your end, because Pakistan has suffered extremely at the hands of terrorism that is emanating from across the border, and these issues come with the refugees as well, some of them particularly. So would there be any advice from your end to the government, irrespective if it's a republic or if it's an interim government by the Taliban? Number one. Number 2, to Madam Minister, we've seen that the date for refugees return has now been set for the 25th of December. So would it be extended, or is the government in favor of extending it further? Thank you.
I can be very short on your first question. I'm not in a position to advise the Pakistani government when it comes to the Afghan refugees. I must say that I very much appreciate what has been done, but I'm stand ready with our support and our cooperation to deal with the situation.
Okay, allow me to say that I think we don't seek acknowledgement or appreciation from others to do what we need to do for ourselves, right? And I think Pakistan is a proud country for having taken its international responsibilities very, very seriously, not for the last 4 months or the last 4 years, for the last 4 decades. Now, are we looking for acknowledgement for that? Would that help our cause? I don't think so. What we're looking for is responsible behavior for our own sake and for the sake of a peaceful, stable region and neighborhood. So what we do for ourselves. So having, at least now going forward, look, what we would ideally want is a scenario in which we have a long-term policy which is not dependent on 6 monthly cabinet approvals. And I think that is what this government seeks, and that is what the Foreign Office recommends also. and work is on its way on that. But till the time that we are able to do that, I think it is not only in our generosity, but in our taking the responsibility to not throw anyone away, or to where Pakistan continues to do what it does. And it is a very interesting, as I said, we don't seek any acknowledgement, but just putting it on the record that a country which has been resource strict, not had the best of resources at its disposal, we have taken on the responsibility of millions of Afghan refugees over the last 4 decades, and the resource crunch that it has had, or the pressure that it has put to schools and health, it is sometimes underappreciated how we are sometimes denying schooling to our own to be able to accommodate others. So just wanted to put it on the record and to say that we will continue to do the responsible thing, and we are proud to be doing it.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is Azhar Saeed. I work for Geo News. My question to you is that European Union remained a torchbearer of freedom of expression. We have recently seen that Pakistan's status in terms of freedom of expression and freedom of media remained not exemplary when it comes to the numbers and the figures issued by different international and local NGOs. Have you spoken on this issue with the Pakistani authorities? And what is your personal opinion? Recently, you know that a Pakistani journalist has also been killed in Kenya. So what is your personal view, and what is your personal observation? And Ms. Hina, question to you is that we have seen that whatever has happened to Mr. Arshad Sharif there in Kenya, and we know that Kenyan authorities has not come up with some positive vibes in a way. What measures we are adopting to collect all the evidences and all the cooperation in terms of the investigations being conducted for the murder of Mr. Arshad Sharif? Thank you.
So thank you. The freedom of expression, the possibility for media to act freely, and to ask for journalists to act freely and safely is of the utmost importance. It's a fundamental thing for a well-functioning democracy. But this has not been the topic that we have been discussing today, and not be the topic of my mission here today.
Thank you. Okay, as far as your question regarding the unfortunate incident surrounding the death of Arshad Sharif is concerned, I think it is something that we have never, I'm rather pleased with the fact that immediately after that, an investigation team was immediately sent. Not only that, but before that, we never wanted to acknowledge that, but I think I do want to acknowledge the efforts that our High Commissioner in Kenya made. From the morning hours till the time that she put the body in the plane, she was there throughout to make sure that it was done in a way which was honorable, which was decent, and the relatives were able to receive the body at the earliest. And I think it was in some ways track record time in terms of being able to. So having done all of that responsibility, I think when it comes to the government, the Prime Minister was very quick in sending an investigation team immediately. I think we have seen a lot of record emerge from that investigation team, which put things into perspective and perhaps raises more questions, and that is what the work of a preliminary investigation always is, to raise the right questions based on evidence. That is happening. And then in order to make sure, because there was lots of voices, it's not very useful to have discoherent voices casting aspersions at a time when the country should be getting together to save its own, or to at least put a logical, to closure for the family. So at that time, the Prime Minister decided to put a judicial, now, excuse me if I don't know the nomenclature in particular, I think it was a judicial commission, but put that in place to make sure that no more questions would be asked on the authenticity or at least the will of the government to get to the bottom of it. And inshallah, we will get to the bottom of it. I think this country deserves closure, and the journalist community in Pakistan deserves absolute closure to it. We have entered into a phase of many investigations being opened but never being able to get the closure. And I think it is in the interest of everyone to get absolute closure on this, and it is this government's intention to be able to do that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My question is to the visiting dignitary. Madam, you've had some very important meetings in Pakistan, including with the Inspector General Frontier Corps in KP and FIA officials as well on border management. Can you please tell us some important outcomes of the meetings that you've had with the Pakistani officials? Thank you.
Yes, as I said, my visit yesterday in Peshawar was a very important one, and I learned a lot. And I must say that I'm impressed of the professionalism on the border management. It's a difficult border, of course, but the professionalism and also the important steps that have been taken when it comes to new criminal laws in areas also when it comes to fight smuggling and trafficking of people. So I think this is an area, as I said also in my introduction, where Pakistan is performing very well. And this is also an area where I would like to see a closer cooperation. And we stand also ready to support when it comes to border management and to modernize and to take new steps in an efficient border management and to fight the cross-border crimes.
I think this basically, can we take one more question?
Sure.
One last question, please.
Thank you very much. This is Sumaira Khan from Samay. Ma'am, one very important question is from you probably. We talked about efforts being put by Pakistani government with regards to providing all facilities to the Afghan refugees who are here for shorter term or the longer term. Maybe they are seeking for some longer terms as well. We are in our best capacity because I have met few Afghan families in my best capacity for some vlogs and interviews. Their daughters and their children without any, regardless of their gender, they are being, we are trying to provide them some best quality education here in Pakistan. But when they go back to Afghanistan, MOS knows that there is some kind of measure that girls till certain age, they are not able to go to school. So if we, by the December deadline, we are sending them back to Afghanistan, did you two respectable ladies discuss that factor as well? And my very humble question from you, ma'am, Commissioner, that do you have any mechanism or any channel to relay this message to the Afghan side as well, that yes, it's a concern, and if they come back to Afghanistan, which they are, like they are appealing to their people as well, the diaspora, come back to Afghanistan. So what kind of answer you have in that regard, if you have any? Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think that you and I and a minister, we are all women, and we can really feel also in our bodies this pain of girls not being allowed to go to schools, not having their rights, being denied their rights in Afghanistan. This is, of course, of the utmost concern. And this is, of course, on the highest agenda for the European Union in our context and in the work we are doing together with the international community. Unfortunately, I must say that the development in Afghanistan is going in the wrong direction in this aspect. So unfortunately, I have no quick fix to answer you on this, but I can assure you that this stays on the highest point on the agenda for the European Union in all our international contacts when it comes to Afghanistan.
I'm going to also sort of answer that in some ways, right? Because I think it is extremely, sometimes you get lost in various positions which are attached to countries which are perhaps not their positions, okay? And allow me to say that as a country where the Constitution guarantees education to girls, as a country where representation of women and from the highest forums of the cabinet, certainly representative representation in terms of parliaments, both national and provincial, and going down to the local level, ranges from 18 to 33%. When you go to the universities in Pakistan, you typically have more population of women than men. You have women every field of life, whether it's doctors or sports fields filled with women. So we are a country which can only give advice which is based on our own realities and our own constitution, and that's the advice we give to everyone. However, the point I wanted to make was a slightly different one. The point I wanted to make was that it is really important to understand that when we try and seek to assist the Afghans, what are we seeking? I have many countries who are very keen to provide evacuation facilities to the largest number of people possible. I have many countries also who are very keen to give assistance to the largest number of refugees in Afghanistan. But strategically speaking, when you sit on a 2,600 kilometer border away from Afghanistan, you ask yourself the question, how many people are you going to be able to parachute out of Afghanistan into safety? Is that your policy? Is that the world's policy? Is that a smart policy? To continue to parachute people out to safety? Or do you want to create circumstance and be enablers of the circumstances of stability, normalcy, for men, women coexist in a stable environment, and therefore really coalesce all our efforts to create a stable environment within Afghanistan for the 40 million Afghans? How many people are we able to parachute out of Afghanistan? 1 million? I mean, are you saying that that's all our goals are? And how many people are we able to evacuate to safer pastures? So eventually, I think if you ask Pakistan as a country, our objective, our goal is to create an environment and for the world to partner to create an environment of stability, peace within the region, and certainly an environment for everybody to be able to coexist peacefully within their own country.
This concludes our joint press briefing. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you, Mumtaz and the